Hello and welcome to week 2 of Statistics 2 for the summer of 2018. For this week, we're going to continue working with t-tests. Last week in week 1, we took a look at how to run a t-test if you're comparing two different samples. For example, if you were running in some type of an experiment or some type of new study and you wanted to compare, for example, a control group versus a new experimental group, where in each of those groups you have two totally different subjects, two sets of different individuals. In week 2 here, we're going to take a look at what are called t-tests for repeated measures, or sometimes called paired t-tests. In a repeated measure, that means you have one sample or one group of subjects, and that group undergoes two different types of measurements. So you might have, for example, a pre and a post test for the same individuals. That would be called, again, a t-test for repeated measures or a t-test for paired groups. So for week 2 here, I'm looking for you to please read chapter 15 carefully. The overview or the overall idea for this t-test is the same idea of having a null hypothesis, an alternative hypothesis, some level of significance or alpha level, and you making a comparison of your t-score versus a critical t, or a p-value versus the alpha or the level of significance, and then making a decision whether or not to either reject or retain a null hypothesis. What I did here for chapter 15 is put together about a 15-minute video of walking you through how to either A, use Excel to run the actual statistics and all the calculations that the book walks us through, or also to allow the analysis tool pack in Excel to run what is called, again, a paired two-sample test for means in a matter of seconds. So take a look at this video. Hopefully it's helpful on both ends. And one, again, kind of walking you through the process of what's going on with a t-test for repeated measures, but also then how to let Excel do the hard work for you, and you coming down to the fact that you just basically have to make a determination based on the values it spits out and then draw a conclusion. So I'd recommend you walking through this before you actually do number 15.7, 15.8 for your submission. I actually walk you through a 15.7, so feel free to follow my steps and do it again. One thing you'll note, if you're comparing what I did on this screen to the answers in the back of the book, they're actually different. And I got a little nervous at first, and then I thought maybe the book was wrong, and then I realized, going through the process by hand again, but rounding earlier, the textbook rounds very early in the processes for their values in the back of the book. And when you use Excel, if you use the actual cells that the value is in, there's very little rounding that takes place along the way, and really the rounding just happens at the end. So the point is, if you're comparing the answers you find if you use Excel and the answers that I found and demonstrate using Excel to the answers in the back of the book, they're slightly off due to the fact that the book rounds so early in the process. So it's one thing to note that there is going to be a difference. The other thing to note is, quite frankly, if the earlier in the process you round, there's a good chance that you're actually going to have a different outcome in your test itself, depending on where you round. So be careful with that. The other thing I want to point out here for this week is that I'm sharing with you an assignment that's not due for another 3 weeks, but I think this is a good week for you to get started on it. And it's an annotated bibliography assignment. And basically what I'm looking to do is two things. Number one, I want you to get used to reading about statistics and understanding what's going on in a research paper that alludes to and demonstrates the statistics that we're studying in the course. And number two, getting you used to writing at the research paper level. in the APA format that St. Peter's expects you to be able to do as far as this program is concerned. So this is trying to help you out in the long run so that when you get to the point in your program that you're putting it together a dissertation or a major research paper, that these processes are not new to you by that point. So it's not due, and again, for till the end of week 4, but I thought it'd be a good time for you to take a look at it now. If you just had me back in the spring, read the section carefully and the fact that you do not have to find 5 new articles. You had 3 articles back in the spring. If you like, you just find 2 more and add it to the assignment you had back in the spring. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to use the Slack discussion space. Thank you for all of you who introduced yourself this week 1. And this week we will not have a Google Hangout, but I do plan on having one for week 3 because I think the step we're going to take in week 3 kind of warrants to have a class discussion, if you will. So good luck for this week. Hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. I think at least the first half, the weather cooperated. The second half was a little hairy, but hopefully you appreciated the weekend. And happy Memorial Day. Thank you.